Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make mini chocolate cheesecakes, and this is what they look like. This cheesecake has 3 layers. On the bottom we have the sandy textured graham crackered crust. Top of that we have this smooth and creamy cheesecake filling that kind of reminds me of like a rich chocolate mousse. And then on top of that, we're going to have this smooth and creamy chocolate ganache. And then if you want to, like I've done here, you can finish it off with some chocolate shavings or even some chocolate sprinkles. So the first thing that you will need to do is to preheat your oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 150 degrees Celsius. And then you will need a 12-cup muffin pan, and I've just lined my muffin cups with paper liners. So we're going to start with our crust. What I like about this type of crust, it's so easy to make. It's not like a pastry crust where we have to make it and roll it and all that. No, just mix everything together. So you will need 1 cup, which is 100 grams. Now you can use either graham cracker crumbs or, my favorite, what I'm using today, is crushed digestive biscuits. Either one. So, and if you want to use like graham crackers, you can buy a box of graham cracker crumbs. But I actually prefer, if you're using graham crackers, to actually take the graham crackers and to crush them. I don't know, I think the flavor is better. And the same way you would, that I'm going to do the digestive biscuits. So for either one, whether you're using graham cracker, the wafers, or the digestive biscuits, which I find if you live in the States now, you can find digestive biscuits, I find in just my local grocery store on the international aisle, or of course you can buy them online. But you will need either graham crackers or the digestive biscuits. You will need, what do I have here? 7. That gives you about 1 cup, 100 grams. Now there's a couple ways you can crush them. The way I always do them is just take my thing and then just put them in a bag. And then if you have one of these meat pounders, you can just like that, or a rolling pin, and just crush them that way. Or if you want to be an even easier way is to just put them in your food processor. I'll leave that up to you. So once you have them in a bowl, then you will need somewhere between 4 and 5 tablespoons, which is 55 to 70 grams of melted butter. And for this, you can use salted or unsalted butter. I'll leave that up to you. So I'm just going to pour most of it in. Okay, so you want to make sure that all of your crumbs are moistened. So start out with almost all your butter, but I'm going to need it all here. Pour it right in there. Okay. I really like the sandy texture of the crust, either digestive or the graham crackers, with the smooth and creamy cheesecake filling and the ganache. I think that contrast of texture is just wonderful. Tell I really like these. If you like chocolate. Okay, so that looks good. You just want to make sure all those crumbs are moistened. And then you will need to put in about a tablespoon, 13 grams. Whoops. And you could just use a tablespoon, or if you have a scoop that's about a tablespoon, either one. And then just put it into the bottom. And then you can do this a couple ways. You can just press it down with your fingers. You could use your tablespoon or spoon, just press down. Or if you have one of these, I think it's called a pastry tamper, tart tamper, you can just do that. Whatever you have. You just want to make sure it's even layer and it's pressed down firm. That's it. So we'll carry on here. It's our last one. It's a great little tool. So now, what I'm going to do is just put this in the refrigerator to chill, and that will set up our crust. And when we come back, we will make our cheesecake filling. So now for our chocolate cheesecake filling. The first thing that we need to do is melt some chocolate. So you will need a saucepan of simmering water, and you will need, in a heat-proof bowl, I like stainless steel, 6 ounces, which is 170 grams. Now you can use either a semi-sweet or a bittersweet chocolate for this. And as always, when you're making a chocolate dessert, the taste of it will depend on the type, whether you're using a semi-sweet or a bittersweet chocolate, and it also depends on brands because different chocolates taste different. So I'm actually using today chocolate chips. You can use chocolate chips. Just make sure when you're buying them, look on the ingredients, and you want to make sure that one of the ingredients is cocoa butter. So I'm using a 60% chocolate. So that's kind of leaning towards the bittersweet end of the range of semi-sweet. And I like that because I like a little bit of sharpness to the chocolate because, you know, cheesecake is rich, and I find that the chocolate offsets that. So if you're using a chocolate bar, your favorite chocolate bar, just chop it up, coarsely chop, or like I said, if you're using chocolate chips, you don't have to do anything. So I'm just going to put this over simmering water, and just until it's melted. Watch carefully. You don't want to overheat your chocolate. Okay, so that's melted. Take it off the heat. Just give it a good stir. And I'm just going to put that aside to cool down a little. And then when I come back, we will make our filling. So now for our cheesecake filling. If you have a stand mixer like I have here, use your paddle attachment, or you could use a hand mixer, or really you could mix it by hand with a wooden spoon, because when you make cheesecake filling, you don't want to incorporate a lot of air into the batter. Really what we're doing is just mixing the ingredients together. The first thing we will need, of course, is cream cheese. You will need 1 pound, which is 450 grams, or 2 of these 8-ounce packages of cream cheese. This is full fat. We're not compromising here. And you want your cream cheese at room temperature. And then I'm going to add 2/3 of a cup, 135 grams of granulated white sugar, and 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of pure vanilla extract. Again, as I always say, vanilla extract is for flavoring. If you don't want the vanilla flavor, you can just leave it out. So now what I'm going to do is beat this on low, like medium-low speed. Like I said, I don't want to incorporate air. All I want to do is get this mixture like mixed together and nice and smooth. Okay, that looks good. You will find, if you're like me, when you're doing this, you're going to have to stop and scrape down the sides and bottom of your bowl a few times because cream cheese is so sticky, especially before you mix it. So now what we're going to do is add 2 large eggs. So that is 100 grams of eggs out of the shell, and have your eggs at room temperature. I'm going to add 1, beat that in, and then add the second. Again, medium-low speed. Okay. So now we are going to add our melted chocolate. Just make sure it's not hot. Taste it just to make sure. Tastes good. Okay. And just beat that in. Okay. Oh, it looks so wonderful. Just going to make sure everything's mixed together here. As I said, sticky batter. Sides. Then make sure you get to the bottom. Just make sure that that chocolate is all mixed in. It looks good. And we have one more ingredient, a half a cup, which is 120 milliliters, 120 grams of sour cream. Have your sour cream at room temperature. I am using full fat. You could get away with reduced fat here, but hey, I'm figuring we're eating cheesecakes, might as well go for broke. And we can, they're small. And this is a treat. You're gonna love them. So just add that right in there. If you didn't have sour cream, you could use like a full fat plain yogurt for this as well. Okay, and we'll just beat this in and then that's it. Okay, we're done. You know the great thing about a cheesecake is it really isn't very hard to make. It seems like it's hard, like for the people eating it, but it really is one of the easier batters to make. So I'm just gonna scrape this and then make sure everything's mixed together here. Okay, that looks good. So now we're just going to divide this in the amongst the muffin cups here. If you have like a scoop, it makes it easy. Or you can just use 2 spoons or a ladle even. And just put it in there. Then I just use this to just kind of level it off. Okay, and our last one. There we go. So now everyone's oven is a little different. I'm going to say between 20 and 25 minutes. So what we're looking for, we want them set, but yet in the center it looks a little wet. And then if you shake the pan, you just get a little bit of wobble. So I'm going to say 20 to 25 minutes. I do like to rotate my pan front to back about halfway through to even baking because a lot of times your oven has hot spots. Okay. So our chocolate cheesecakes are done. Don't they look good? So they do rise a little, and the centers, and what you probably can't see, are just a little wet. So what we're going to do is I put the pan on a wire rack. We're going to let them cool down to room temperature. And then what you want to do is take the whole pan and put it into the refrigerator to chill, because we want them to cool down and get a little get firm before we put that layer of chocolate ganache. So I would say, you know, they have to be in the refrigerator for probably about an hour. So that's what we're going to do. When we come back, we'll make our chocolate ganache. So now for our chocolate ganache. A chocolate ganache is just a mixture of chocolate and heavy whipping cream with a little bit of butter. Today we're going to make a ganache with equal parts chocolate and heavy cream. So in a heat-proof bowl, you will need 4 ounces, which is 120 grams Again, you could use either a semi-sweet or a bittersweet chocolate. Again, I'm using my 60% dark chocolate chips. If you're using, say, a block of chocolate, you need to chop it up into pieces and just like a heat-proof bowl. And then a small saucepan, I'm going to put a half a cup, 120 milliliters, 120 grams of heavy whipping cream. That's cream with a 35 to 40% butterfat content. You need that here because if you use like a light cream or just a regular whipping cream, your ganache will not set up as thick and it'll be more like a thinner consistency, more like a glaze. So that's why we're using heavy cream here. And I'm also going to add just 1 tablespoon, 13 grams of butter. You could use salted or unsalted. I just put it into small little pieces so it'll melt faster. You could do this step in the microwave if you want. Just watch carefully. Same as when you're doing it on the stove. We want to bring this up to a boil. It'll start to get bubbles around the edge. Watch it carefully because once it starts to get those bubbles, it'll start to foam up really quickly and we don't want it to overflow and then you got to start again. So don't walk away. So I'm just going to put it on medium heat and bring it to a boil. Okay, so whoa. See, you got to be careful. That's what can happen if you let it boil too long. Okay, so now I'm just going to pour it over the top of our chocolate. Unplug that. And then I just swirl it to make sure that all the chocolate is underneath the cream. I'm just going to let that sit just for like a minute or so and then we will stir it. So now, if you have a wire whisk, or really you could just use a spoon, we're just going to start in the center, small circles. And just move outward. Sometimes when you're doing this and say your cream you didn't let it go foam up like I did, and it doesn't melt all your chocolate, what you could do is just put your bowl over a saucepan of simmering water and finish the melting of the chocolate. But if you get that cream like hot enough and you chopped your chocolate enough, then you shouldn't have a problem. So there we have it. It's so easy. That's what I love about a chocolate ganache for topping the cake. It's so easy to make. Plus, we're not adding the sugar. You know, sometimes if you use a confection or frosting, you're, more sugar, which you don't want. So now what we're going to do, it's a little warm. You want to just let it sit like that on your counter until it's thick enough so that we can spread it onto the top of our cheesecakes. So I let the chocolate ganache sit for about a half hour on my counter. So this is what you're looking for. It's nice and thick. So we are ready to top our cheesecakes. Now I actually let these sit overnight in the refrigerator so they're nice and firm. I mean, you don't have to leave them overnight, but that's just how it worked for me. So what I like to do actually is take off the paper liners. You don't have to, but I think for your guests, you don't want them to have to be fussing and getting chocolate all over their fingers, so I like to take it off. So there we go. Because it is a little messy. And then I just take a spoon and put a little on top. You could put a lot and let it drip down the sides, but what I want is just on top. And if it's thick enough, it shouldn't run. And if your cheesecakes are really nice and cold, it'll stay, the ganache will stay as well. So just like that. Get close to the edge, but I don't want to, like that. And You could just leave it like that. You could put, sometimes I like to put like a strawberry or a raspberry. I think the raspberry with chocolate goes really good. You could put some chocolate sprinkles. You could put some regular sprinkles. I have some shaved chocolate here. I like that as well. Or you don't really, I don't even think you need anything on there. You could also put like a pecan. There's all kinds of things you could do to dress it up. I kind of like that. Just like so, as much as little you want. I just think they look so pretty. And so I'm going to do the rest. And then what I do is just, I'm going to put them back into the fridge, maybe 10 minutes just to set that ganache. And then we are going to come back and try one. So we're all done. I just think they look so pretty. Your family, friends, whatever, will be impressed. So let's try it, and then we'll talk about it. I like to let it sit on the tongue because the texture of that cheesecake is just wonderful. Smooth. It's so smooth and creamy. It does taste like a dense chocolate mousse, but yet with a little bit of tang from that cream cheese. And then you've got the grainy texture of the crust, and then of course even more chocolate on the top with the chocolate ganache. You know, if you go to the joybaking.com website or a YouTube channel, I do have like a recipe for a large chocolate cheesecake. I mean, it's a 9-inch with 23 centimeter, which is almost the same recipe as this. Sometimes I like to do that. But you know what? What I like about this, it's okay, I won't lie, it's a little more work to do individual. But then when your guests come over, like, I'm done. I can just put this on a nice platter and take it into the, the table, put it on there. And I don't have to fuss with cutting, because as you know, cheesecakes, your knife gets long, you have to dip it into the hot water, wipe it off. And sometimes I just don't want to do that. So I put in a little more effort, but then I have these. These can be stored in the refrigerator 3-4 days, and they freeze beautifully. I just put them into some plastic containers, and then if I just want one, sometimes just take out one or as many as you want. So, you know, it's a really good thing, especially if you're having a buffet or actually even just for your family. Now, I do, if you go to the website or the channel, I do have, like I said, a large chocolate cheesecake, which is essentially the same recipe as this one. Or I also have, if you like this idea of an individual cheesecake, I have just like a plain vanilla flavored. You might want to try that, or I have lots of other cheesecake recipes. But you must try this one. It's so good. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.